Okay, we are up. So let's get started. So, hola, hola, hola. Buenas tardes a todos. Soy Tasha de Tasha Teaches Spanish con otro episodio de Hablamos Español. So, hey, everybody, good afternoon. I normally don't post this early, but surprise, sorpresa. And I'm so excited to be back with another episode of Hablamos Español. If this is your first time watching, gracias y bienvenido. We overall have this web series to shine light on those who are contributing to the diversification of foreign language learning. So anybody, because oftentimes, especially in the African American community, from my experience, we often think foreign languages aren't for us. But I'm here to let you all know that no, they are for us. We need them. We can do them. We can learn them. Si nos podemos. Yes, we can. So definitely to encourage you all. I definitely appreciate you for watching this. Leave some comments. I have one viewer. Hey, one viewer. Drop your name so I can know who you are. But yeah, two viewers. Those. So yeah, please, as you all are coming in, please drop your name, where you're from, things of that nature. But today, hoy tenemos Errol de Jesús. So I'm very excited to have Errol de Jesús with us. She is the founder of Morenita Mami. And she has a book too. I can't really pronounce it. It's like Melanintro. I don't know if that's right.
That's it. No, you got it.
Melanintro. Gracias. Hey, 4 viewers. What's up? Come on in here, y'all.
Oh, we're popular now. Okay.
Leave a comment. Let us know where you're from. But I'm excited to have her. So, hola, Errol. Gracias por venir.
Hola, mucho gusto.
So we're going to start, as always, como siempre, con una introducción en español. We're going to start with her Spanish introduction. This gives you, the viewer, an opportunity to test your skills out. What do you know? What do you not know? Hey, Mrs. Barnes, thanks for watching. De Tejas. So this gives you an opportunity to test out your Spanish. What do you know? What do you not know? And at the end, she will say the same thing, otra vez, but in English. All right, so here we go. So we know that your name is Errol de Jesús. Errol, ¿de dónde eres?
Soy de Texas originalmente, pero yo yo venía aquí a Minnesota por colegio y conocí a mi esposo en mi último año de universidad y casamos y por él yo empecé a aprender español y ahora estamos criando a nuestro hijo trilingüe. Y gracias a mi hijo, él fue mi inspiración por comenzar mi sitio Morenita Mami. Lo hice porque yo quería conectar con más morenas como yo, morenas que están criando bebés biraciales, como él es afro-mexicano. Y porque yo quería conectar con más morenas que le gustan idiomas, como yo. Y me encanta, sí, me encanta escribir, cantar y cocinar o hornear, porque a mí me gusta mucho pan dulce. Mucho dulce.
Okay. Perfecto. So you also told us your pastimes, tus pasatiempos. Okay, entonces sabemos de dónde eres, sabemos tus pasatiempos. ¿Cómo es tu trabajo o trabajos? ¿Qué haces?
A ver, soy autoempleo, y yo hago marketing, promociones por, ¿cómo se llama? Compañías de ánimo, no, lucro, sin ánimo.
Sin fines de lucro. Sin fines de lucro.
Sí, eso es.
Ánimo is an option as well, es una opción también.
Oh my God, mi esposo dice todo a mí y no puedo acordar todo. Okay, all right, whatever. Seguimos. That's my main thing right now. Pero también yo hago traducción como proofreading o editing por personas que están traduciendo japonés a inglés o español a inglés. También hago, ¿cómo se dice? Social media marketing.
Marketing de los redes sociales.
Okay, así. ¿Y qué más? Creo que es todo. Oh, y tengo Morenita Mami.
Okay, entonces tú eres una mujer muy ocupada.
Sí.
Porque al mínimo ser mamá y esposa es mucho trabajo.
Oh, sí, yo
Al
olvidé.
mínimo. Sí, sí. Entonces, tú has mencionado tu esposo, tu bebé. ¿Quieres decir más de tu familia, mamá, hermanos, algo como así?
Oh, sí, yo tengo una gemela. Las caras son mismas y ella viva en Texas ahora y está embarazada y estamos esperando por mi sobrina en enero.
Oh, qué bonito, qué bonito. Y
Sí.
entonces, ustedes tienen nombres que emparejan, Errol y Derol, o ¿cómo se
No,
llama?
es Errol y Gisela.
Ok, muy
Sí,
diferente. Ok.
Errol y Gisela, sí. Y Errol es un nombre de, ¿cómo se llama? Masculino, porque mi mamá me dio nombre de mi tío. Él murió y
Oh,
cuando ella tenía gemelas, te digo, ok, puedo poner ese nombre a mi hija. No me importa si es una niña, aún pongo ese nombre. Y por eso casi toda mi vida a veces personas me llaman él o sí, piensa que soy.
wow.
A veces yo hablo con blancos y cuando digo que mi nombre es Errol, algunas dicen, oh, ese es el nombre de mi papá o de mi hermano o de mi hijo. Y yo como, ok.
Nunca, para mí, nunca he escuchado hello, hello, 4-3 viewers, let us know where you're from. Drop your name. Nunca he escuchado este nombre para hombre, mujer, nadie.
Sí, algunas
¿De,
personas dicen a mí, pero
de dónde,
personas
de
que
dónde,
conocen.
de dónde viene el nombre?
El actor que se llama Errol Flynn, un blanco. Entonces, una vez por chico, yo quería ayudar a alguien mover su, ¿cómo se llama? Buró por su hija. Él tenía como furniture muy grande y quería ayuda. Y cuando yo envié mi aplicación, cuando él dije, "Hey, quiero ayudarte, quiero recibir dinero para ayudarte", él dijo, ok, sí, sí, sí. Ok, voy a llegar a ese tiempo. Ok, nos vemos, ok, más tarde. Y cuando me salió, él dijo, ¿dónde está Errol? Soy Errol. Oh, pensé que era un hombre. No, no, soy una mujer negra. ¡Sorpresa! Eso pasa a mí en entrevistas también. Personas solo ven mi nombre, piensan que un hombre va a llegar, pero después yo llego y ok, hola. Siempre como eso.
Wow, qué interesante. Y la última pregunta, and then we'll get back to English viewers. Thank you for hanging in there. ¿Tu canción favorita en español o cantante favorito de español?
Ah, que lloro de Sin Bandera.
Wow, never heard of it. Okay. ¿Y, y
Es una
cantante?
canción muy triste, pero me encanta.
¿Y un cantante o una cantante?
Ah, que lloro por ti. Y ya lo entendí, que no eres para mí y lloro.
Ay, ay, ay. ¿Quién es el cantante de la canción? ¿Quién? ¿Quién es?
La banda se llama Sin Bandera, creo. Sin Bandera.
Ok,
¿Eh?
muy bien. Ok, el fin de la entrevista, the end of the Spanish interview, guys. So, gracias a ti, Errol, and thanks for hanging in there. English speakers, well, I hope did you catch something? I hope so. We'll see at the end. So,
No
let's
pasa.
start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning. Why did you decide to learn Espanol?
I thought that my husband was hot. I said, "Woo, I need to learn me some Espanol now."
I've never heard that somebody. Well, I mean, I guess I have though. I had a client. He wanted to know so he could pick up more Latino women. So I guess I've heard of
I
that.
want to try to pick him up. I know we were together already. We were
Oh,
together
my
already.
apologies. My apologies.
No, you're right. I mean, I guess. I didn't. So I did not know he could not speak English at the time. We were working at the same restaurant, and I would say, "Hey, how you doing?" when I'd come into work.
Yeah.
I was bucking tables, and he was washing the dishes, and he'd never respond to me. So one day I went back there, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going in all or nothing. I'm just gonna be like, hey, I like you. Let's hang out. If you got a girl, okay, I'm gonna back off. I respect that. And so I was just saying, I was just going off camera. I was like, do you want to go to the mall? Blah 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 blah. And he hands me his phone. I'm like, why did he hand me his phone? I look at it and it says there, hi, I'm Javier. I'm from Mexico. I don't speak English. Nice to meet you. And placed it in there. I fell in love. No, I'm just kidding. I was just like, oh, okay. Homeboy don't speak no English. So I was like, we'll make it work. We'll just hang out. Then we had our first date, and we were just exchanging our phones with Google Translate the whole time. I like to tell people I was dating him and Google Translate for the first couple of weeks until I remember I wanted to tell him, I wanted to be romantic and say stuff like, oh, I really like it when you send me messages, or it's really nice to see you, or I hope you have a good day. And I realized I was staring at the phone instead of staring at him. And I was like, Google, stop third wheeling. I don't want Google to be third wheeling us no more. I want to talk to you directly. But I guess one thing that added to the struggle I had with, deciding if I really wanted to pick up Spanish was I was in school finishing my degree in Japanese, and I was going to go to Japan and start a job there. They were waiting for me to come back. Yeah, that's why I wasn't really invested in the election that year either. So I was just kind of like, bye, everybody. Like, this ain't my country, no ways. But as I started falling in love with my husband, I was like, oh, wait, I think I want to stay here. Oh, no.
Fell in love and had a reason to stay.
Yeah, and I think it was for the best because the company that I was going to work for, they like shut down or someone got arrested. Girl, I don't know. I saw the Japanese newspaper and I just saw arrested, and I'm like, oh, that looked bad.
Errol, you are so funny. Oh my God, I don't know if we're gonna make it through this whole interview. I had all these questions, but anyway.
I promise my other answers won't be as long-winded as that, but.
Well, no, I don't mind. I kind of like when things, veer off a little because it just gives us an idea of you as a person. So overall, you learn Spanish to connect with your mate.
Yes.
Now this is interesting. I'm not gonna go deep into this, but just a little bit. Tell us a little bit. Why did you end up learning Japanese? Like, how did that happen?
Oh yeah, so oh my gosh, me and Japanese go way back. My mom had a little phrase book lying around the house. I had to be about 12. And I have a twin sister, as I mentioned, for the listeners out there that caught that word Tamela. We started studying together when we were about 12 or 13. She went off and said, you know what, I want to do Spanish. I like it better. And I was like, well, I actually really like Japanese. I'm going to stick with it. And so I did, and all my Spanish teachers were telling me, why are you learning Japanese? You live in Texas, you need to learn Spanish. And I remember saying, I'll never use Spanish. So yes, I understand irony. I understand. I live in it every day. But it was a language that I just thought was so different from anything I've heard before. And I was just really curious, and I just thought, I still think it sounds very beautiful. But I think I hope I'm not skipping too far ahead, but one of the questions, like, how do people react when you speak Spanish? Part of why I kind of not necessarily had a falling out, but why I found it difficult to continue with Japanese was that when I was in Japan, people see me before they hear me, right? And so they're like, oh, probably she looks like she's American. I even got some people asking me, like, which country in Africa are you from? I'm like, stop. But I just got so frustrated with this. Even though I studied Japanese for so long, I feel like I still had to prove myself just to get someone to say konnichiwa to me, And with Spanish, you got people from the Dominican Republic that are like darker than me. So it's like, it's totally believable. They don't question you if you speak Spanish. It's like, hey, what's up? Hola, oh, okay. And it's like, oh, I love this. I'm accepted immediately, right? Not all the time. But I mean, it definitely, me and my sister were talking about this too when I finally told her. I was like, as much as I love Japanese language, it's just so much easier with Spanish. People believe me more. My sister was like, right? Maybe I was just like, isn't it true? Like, people sometimes think that I'm like Latina or something. I'm like, yeah, it's just so much easier to just be like, I don't know. I know it's a weird way of phrasing it, believable.
No, ma'am. I'm just keep interrupting, but for me, that's what helped me even learn. I got the reverse out of it. The fact that I could see myself in Spanish, the fact that there are Afro Latinos, because there's Celia Cruz, I could identify, and that made me feel closer. And so what you're saying, you get the kind of the inverse of that. You get the reception, so it makes you cling a little closer.
Yes, that's a very good way to word it. Yeah, and then And I talk about this in my book too, Melanin True Languages is out now. I was talking to my husband, and so, you know, the word that I learned for black is negra, like la negra tiene
Correct.
tambal. We know that song.
Correct. Yeah.
But my husband, you know, he refers to me as Errol when he talks to me, but when he was talking about me with his family, he would refer to me as La Morena. And I looked it up and brunette came up. And I was like, I'm not, I mean, yeah, some people say it's like dark brown, it's not black, but I'm not a brunette, right? And so one day I confronted him, not confronted, but I was just like, hey, I know that you call me La Morena. Why don't you call me La Negra? He's like, oh, like Morena, that's like, you know, for your skin color. I'm like, well, does it mean black? He's like, well, it means like dark skin. And then I was like, oh, okay. So like he was really tan when we first met. Now we're in Minnesota. We don't get that much sun because like the winter here really bad. So he looks a little lighter. But when I first met him, I was like, are you black? Or like, so I was like, so are you a Moreno? And he was like, I'm Mexicano. Then I was like, okay, but are there black people in Mexico then? He was like, oh yeah, we have Afro Mexicanos. And I was like, mind equals blown. Because I was like, duh, you have like African Americans here. Why wouldn't you have African Mexicanos? But it turns out that I'm not the only black person that's just like, wait a minute, you got black, so you like black people. You Latino. And someone had explained it to me as, you know, same ship, different destination. And I was like, okay. The way that my husband had explained it, he was like, "Oh yeah, you have Afro-Mexicanos. They're black, but I mean they're Mexican too." And then I just found out. Well, I didn't just find this out, but it was a couple of weeks ago. I just learned that Mexico just started to include Afro-Mexicanos in their census. So I mean, obviously, this isn't, you know, me just being out of it. It's this. I think it's a very common. I think it's something that a lot of people don't know about, or
Yes,
like.
it sounded like it was kind of suppressed, like the culture intentionally suppressed their or didn't put a light on their Afro population. Because there's a lady, you know, I think we're both in this group on Facebook, Melanated Multilinguals, and there's a lady in the group, and that's what a lot of her posts are about, Afro Mexicanos. And so just looking at her post and thinking, I'm thinking maybe they're just kind of hiding them. You know, they don't want to shine that light on their history, maybe.
Whenever, so I try to get my husband to watch, like, I want us to watch movies together. We watch some shows together, but whenever he would show me movies from Mexico, I'm like, everybody look white, but you are from Mexico, and like you're not, I was like, you don't identify as black, but you're not as light. You're right. You're not white passing like these people I've seen in the movies. It's like, what's going on? Are there really black people in Mexico that need a magnifying glass to find them? Like, what's going on? Well, like, I really want to know what's up here. And then we get involved into this whole world of colorism, and it really gets interesting.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's just, oh my gosh. So,
and then in addition to the people of African descent, there, you know, there's the indigenous group. So that's another group. So it goes so many places. It goes so deep.
Did you see Roma, the movie?
No, ma'am.
What? Did they get like an Oscar or something? Or they won like best picture? It was something.
I'll look it up. I'll make a note of it right now. Roma.
Oh, okay. Yeah, beautiful movie. It's about an indigenous woman who lives with, the way my husband refers to it, he's like, you can tell by the last name that person has like Spanish descent. So I'm like, oh, you know, a lot of people have two last names. So yes, De Jesus, but he also has Valverde, and he's like, De Jesus is Mexican last name, but Valverde is Spanish last name. I don't like that last name. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know why he would say stuff like that, but I mean, and then all of a sudden, like watching, when I saw that movie, it started to make a little bit more sense to me, because you have an indigenous woman who works for a white family, like they're Mexican, right? They live in Mexico. And the actress herself, I think, got a lot of backlash from people that were like, why would you put this ugly person in a movie about Mexico? She's ugly, but like this. And it's like, I didn't even know, because like I just heard great things about the movie, but I had no idea that like the actress was getting shade like that, just because, you know, she's indigenous, right? And I don't know, it's just, one, I will say this much, you know, when you learn another language.
Oh my gosh, that is so, okay. I'm looking it up right now. That woman is not ugly. She just has indigenous features. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, she's beautiful. She's beautiful. So it's just like,
Yalitza Aparicio.
I can't remember the language that she spoke in the movie, but it was just, I don't know. I feel that it's really kind of like when I started studying Japanese. and we learned about a class of people referred to as Barakami. Like, oh, they get discriminated
I'm sorry,
against.
you said Barakami?
Barakami. And they're like, well, they get discriminated against. And I was like, okay, but is it for the skin color? Like, what's going on? Where does it originate from? How do you know? Like, what are you discriminating against exactly? And we read about it was considered, I forget how to pronounce it. Is it case system or caste system? It's case system, right? It was part of a case system that originated like in the Edo period, and it referred to the lower case of people that worked with like butchery or like dirty work, associated with dirty work. So it was, I don't want to call it classism, but I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm using racism in America as like a template or as like a frame of reference, and I'm looking at other countries and I'm trying to understand what does racism look like in this country, or what is in some form or fashion. There's a majority, there's a minority. What is the history of the tension there? I'm trying to understand it. And I felt that with Japanese, well, immediately I'm thinking, well, racism doesn't exist there. And then you look hard, you look deep enough, and you find it. And so I felt that I had the same awakening or understanding or epiphany with Mexico as well. The colorism for one was a really big shock. Or just meeting my husband for one, because he was really tan when we met, and I was really confused because I was like, are you black, or like, what is you? Or even the fact that we asked this question, like, what are you? What do you identify as? There's an identity that we have, how we identify ourselves. And then there's what we are called. So I identify as black. I don't mind being called black. Like, that's what I am. But I remember when I was in college, someone had said, oh, yes. So, the other day I called you black when I was talking about you to somebody else. I'm like, yeah, no, that's fine. Well, she was like, well, then someone got mad at me and said, really? Come on. I'm like, well, what are you supposed to refer to me as? Like, you're supposed to be called African American. I was like, excuse me? I always see white people always struggle with this when they talk to me. Like, yeah, I was at the park and I saw a black male, African American man. They like struggle a little bit, and it's like, come on, baby, it's okay. I'm not gonna get mad at you. But
at least in those cases, that person cares. I say European American. Yeah, at least the fact that they even want to call you, give you the right identifier shows they care. Kind of like what we see with LGBT plus. I think I got that right. So, me having to adapt to those pronouns and things, like having to not walk on eggshells, but being cognizant of this population may not want to be called what I think I should call them. So that's made me realize probably what the European Americans go through with identifying as, if they care. Right. You can tell if a person really care and they want to respect you or not.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going it all. I knew we weren't gonna make it through these questions. I just knew it. But it's a good thing though, because you're just giving, with each answer, just giving so many jewels, so many gems, and I appreciate it.
We can jump into the business one.
Well, hold on. I want to say that's to the end. So hold on. I got a few more. So you mentioned starting to learn once you met your now spouse, but how did you he taught you directly? You jumped in the Rosetta Stone. I mean, what happened?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I was thinking about how to explain this. So I hope I'm not going off on too much of a tangent, but with Japanese, like my education, I was very formal. So lots of textbooks, tests, exams, schooling, and all that stuff. And so, like I said, when I met my husband, this is my last year in college. I'm kind of tired of textbooks, and I'm kind of tired of structure in general. I was burnt out. Like, I was just like, I am done with school. I just want to live my life, and so a lot of it was very loosey-goosey. It was very messy. It was very sloppy.
You took the Trey Songz dive in method. That's what I call it.
Exactly. Well, and then I remember thinking when I was in Japan, I was like, well, I'm going to date somebody here so I can really feel immersed. That didn't happen. Then I came back to the U.S. I started dating my husband who didn't speak any English. He only spoke Spanish to me, even if I would tell him stuff like, no entiendo, otra vez, or something like that. He would just keep going in Spanish, like no mercy. And I was just like, why couldn't I have this experience in Japan? What the heck? I never got this experience with Japanese, but I get it with Spanish. Come on, what is going on here? But I really appreciated that. And it was just one of those very natural, like, I don't want to say that he taught me Spanish because, it's one of those things where it's like, just because someone's a native speaker doesn't mean that they understand the language that they naturally acquired. Because I would ask him, oh my gosh, this is one of my biggest things that I'm trying to get used. So since we are married and I yell at him, we argue all the time. I have to use a lot of imperative moods for verbs, like, clean up, don't talk to me, or like, don't say that and stuff like that. So he didn't even understand how to explain a subjunctive form to me. And when I learned about, because the subjunctive doesn't exist in English, doesn't exist in Japanese either. Sometimes I'm really confused about something. I'll look it up in Japanese. I'm like, well, I learned Japanese. So if I learn Spanish through Japanese, that might be helpful. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But even so one time he said, quiero que te limpies. And I was like, okay, so does limpias, is that the imperative form? So one time I was like, limpias. And he's like, no, limpia. I was like, okay, what's the difference then? And so I finally looked it up, and it was like, if it comes after quiero, creo, or if it's like, I think Spanish Dick gives you an acronym like weirdo. It's like want, emotion, or something like that, desire, ojalá. Then it will be in a subjective form, which usually ends in like the S sound. And I was like, what? Like mind equals blown. And I tell my husband, I told him, I said, okay, cuando tú sabes is incorrect. It's cuando tú sepas. And he's like, yeah, that's right. Like, okay, I've been saying cuando tú sabes for 3 years. Why didn't you tell me that it's cuando tú sepas? And he was like, entiendo que tú quieres decir. No pasa nada, está bien. I'm like, no, it's not bien, because you need to be teaching me. But he would be like, Errol, I'm not your teacher. I'm just chilling. I'm just here, And so that's his whole approach to me with Spanish. Like sometimes I can come up to him and, well, you know what? I realized in the middle of trying to translate the part of my book that would involve Spanish that I should have just hired a translator, because like I said, it's very different when you're working with someone who has experience with translating it and experience with working with the different grammatical components versus you going to your mama and be like, Mama, help me translate this, or going to your best friend. Like, they're not professionals. They may know the language, but that doesn't mean that they know how to translate it. And, hindsight is 2020. Like, when we were translating the book, we just got so distracted. And then I was just like, I should have hired a translator. I hired a translator for the Japanese part of my book, but not the Spanish part. I was just like, oh yeah, my husband can help. But no, that wasn't a very good. He kept saying like, no sé, no entiendo esa palabra. No sé si usamos esa palabra. And he was just like, let me think about it. All right, like if I needed an explanation, like, is this the word that you use? He's like, he just like kept changing his mind, and so I was like, and then he would get frustrated, like, I'm saying, yeah, I'm sorry.
Whoa, okay, all right. So I think this is a good segue into the book, since you mentioned the book. Go ahead and talk about what it is, why it exists, why you wanted to write it.
Yeah, so I think it's funny that you mentioned Rosetta Stone. Am I supposed to do that? Sorry. They were a client of mine. I don't know if I remember signing a client confidentiality agreement or whatever, but I did work with them. And what was awesome was the new year started, and I reached out to the creative director and I said, hey, I'm learning Spanish, but I've spoken Japanese for many years and I want to raise my kid trilingual. Do you need a copywriter? And he was like, oh, we don't need a copywriter, but we'd love if you want to start a blog. And I was like, oh, sure. Okay. And like, yeah, we'll pay you too. I'm like, that's what's up. So I started working closely with them doing a blog, and then COVID happened, quarantining happened. And we were gonna do 6 blog posts, but we only did 3. So I only got half the money I promised. But that wasn't the big heartbreak, the big takeaway. What hurt the most was I was only contacted. So after I got ghosted, they contacted me after the death of George Floyd. And they were like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, hey, what's up, performative allies? But girl, no, this is what takes the cake. I get on the phone call and we're talking, and I get told, well, your statement of work expired. I'm like, okay, but we still have like 1,100 on the table that I did not get paid for, right? Like those blog posts, I wrote them. They're sitting there in Google Drive. right? And like he even like, the creative director even went in there and did some edits. I'm like, okay, does that mean I'm getting paid? You still edited my stuff? Like, what is going on here? Talk to me. And they were just like, well, I don't know if we should publish what you have. We don't want to come across as tone deaf. I'm like, oh, so you rather have a white person write about how Black people feel right now? Or like, because even if you don't want me to write about multilingual parenting, you can still commission me to write something. So I just had those blog posts sitting there. It was about, it was like busting myths about raising kids multilingual. It's going to be how to balance learning multiple languages at once. Like, these are some really good, solid blog posts. And I was just like, what do I do? And I said, you know what? I don't get angry. I get even. I'm going to turn this into a make me my money. I'm going to give me my coin. I like, you know what? I was, because, I've done a lot of blog writing for predominantly white language learning companies. And, even being a business owner, I was doing a lot of freelance work on the side, but I was like, I need to create my own product and do my own thing, because I realized that I'm kind of tired of having white people edit my writing. I need my voice. I need it to be not unhinged.
Come out just like you said it. That's what I said.
Right. Yeah, that's what I want. So I didn't even have anything. Well, I had like those blog posts sitting there, and so I announced on my Instagram, "Hey, I'm coming out with a book. What do y'all think?" And people were responding like, "Yes, do it." And I was like, "Oh snap! Now I got to do it. Now I got to write the actual book." I didn't have anything planned, just those blog posts sitting there. So I I strung together the blog posts, and I was just like, you know what, this isn't complete, because at the time when I wrote those blog posts, they had been edited, so it sounded like, your kid can do anything. Yay! I'm like, let me tell y'all something. Black parents, y'all better raise some Black babies multilingual. It's no joke. Some white people go out there and learn Spanish. They be like, oh my God, yeah. Y'all know it's not the same for us. Y'all know it's not the same. It's not the same. And we need to address it. Because I did this post on Instagram. I said, when you leave race out of the conversation on language learning, you're upholding white supremacy. And they were like, oh snap. None of the major language companies came over and liked my post. They were liking some of my posts, but not that one. I was
not
like, interesting. But you want to be anti-racist. But you don't want to call it out. Like, I can't work with you. I don't want to be on the fence about this. I want to take a stance, period. I want to say it's wrong, y'all. It is wrong. We can't act like just white, like you said, that language learning is not for us. And I remember months ago when I was just starting out, pitching to language learning companies, I pitched to this one white woman. I think she's like Hispanic, Mexican, and she's white passing. And I was like, hey, I love your website. Do you need a freelance copywriter or something? And she said, my business, I had to file for bankruptcy or something. And she was like, I just want to let you know, white investors don't give a damn about Black and brown kids learning languages. Have a good day. I was like, I was shook. I was like, and then she followed up and she said, tell me what you really want to do. And I was just like typing like mad. I was just like, I want to create a community where Black moms can get together and talk about learning languages. This is what I really want to do. I don't want to write for white people anymore. Okay. And so that's, oh my gosh, that's probably like the longest.
Good. But that raw honesty is needed. That was good. From the lady. From the lady. Yeah, that was needed.
Oh yeah.
Because people need to know and hear that, because so oftentimes, especially when in the world of corporate America and big companies, there's the nice little smile and the formality and the political correctness, but when it gets to the heart of it, that's what you need to hear. So
that's exactly.
I appreciate her words.
Yeah, I messaged her. She must be really busy. She didn't message me back, but I told her, thank you. All those months ago, you told me that woke up something in me. But at the time, I was like, I still need the money, so I'm gonna finish the project. But I'm gonna keep it in mind what you said.
Okay, come on, Errol. Come on, let's keep going. Okay, so this is what. So let me clarify. Let me bring it back. Hello to the viewers. Feel free to let us know where you're from. Thanks for watching. So to clarify, what inspired your book is 3 blog posts that you wrote for Rosetta Stone and you were not compensated for. And then you put it on Instagram and people responded well. So
Yeah.
you already had 3 blog posts. So how did you get the rest of the book? Where'd that come from? Just writing every
So the
day, or what
rest
was
of the
that
book,
process?
it actually came from interacting with people in Facebook groups, going on Twitter. It was a mixture of everything. It was like, grassroots marketing, being right there on the ground, talking to people directly and asking them, sending out surveys. Like Instagram was a really good place to use that. Well, because one thing when I stepped back and I asked myself, am I really ready to release my own product? And I was like, Errol, you do marketing for everybody else. Just act like you're your own client. And I was like, oh my God, that's a good idea. So I had to ask myself, who's my audience? Right? Like, I'm not talking about CEOs and creative directors. I'm talking about Black people, Black folks, me, people who look like me. And I asked myself, well, go through your list of followers and think of the people that you really want to reach out to and focus on them. And so for the next 2 months, it was just about engaging with them seriously, right? And figuring out, like, what do they want to know? What do they want to hear? And it was like probably like the best thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, and that's like the best. But I think the moment that really helped was when I said, you know what, I don't want to do this on my own. I want to get an editor. And I hired a Black editor who was awesome. And we worked together and she just gave me some of like the best feedback ever. And it just, and I was just like, I want you to be my editor forever. If I ever get another project, we need to work together because I need this. I need to know that I'm working with someone who understands what it means to be Black, and not just that, what it means to be Black and bilingual, right? Because that's that's you breaking an oppressor's tongue by learning different tongues and different languages and embracing other cultures. That's something that they don't expect us to do. That they
Correct.
don't set up success for us to be able to do that. So when we do it, it's like I did that. I did that and I love it. And for me, it's like I did it and I know you can do it too. That's my look at it. It's like it's not enough. A language isn't just something that you get good at and you're like, all right, I'm the best. Like, no, languages are it's that beautiful way of communication that you have to share with everybody. You can't just talk to yourself. You could, but you're gonna look stupid. So like you have to talk to other people. But what really helped was, and this was at like the very last minute. I think it was like the same week I was gonna release it. I don't know how I got this idea, but I was like, oh my God, how do we talk about Black hair in another language? Like, how do we describe that? And so I don't know if you've heard Black Girls Learn Languages right by Shahia.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that group. So I just posted a group. I was like, hey, does anyone ever get curious about how to talk about hair? Like, what kind of thing about hair do y'all wonder? So I was like, well, I want to learn how to say matted. I want to learn how to say, silk wrap. I want to learn how to say this and that. Like, I want to talk about hair care. And I was like, I got you, fam. I got you. Wait. And one thing that I thought was hilarious was, so my husband taught me how to say bun. What do you call it? Pena de la cebolla. That's what he called, like the onion do. But I remember when I was like, wow, is it really called that? I don't know. He acts so stupid sometimes, but he got frustrated and he said, why do I have to know this? And I backed up and I said, you know what? I learned an entire language for you. So this is new vocabulary in your native language. So if I tell you that you need to learn how to say pena de cebolla, cállate tu boca, because you're going to need to learn this. And I was like, look at our son. Like what? Like if you look at my son now, his hair, like my husband shaved it, but I said, if you shave that baby's hair again, it's over. It's over. We gonna have to fight because that baby's hair is gonna grow and it's got chinos, right? It's not lacio como tu pelo. It's like mine and yours. And I understand this is something. Right? Yeah, like this is something new for you, and it's new for me too. I used to love shaving my head whenever I got frustrated with, but I don't do that no more because I want to grow it out. But I'm like, just embrace another culture. Just understand that your son is Afro Mexicano, and like my husband's hair is like really thin, but he was getting really frustrated with me with the vocabulary. And I said, yeah, you need to know this because your son is Black too, and this is something we still butt heads about this because after the death of George Floyd, and I said, we're gonna have the talk with our son. He's like, you talking about sex? I'm like, no, fool, race. We're gonna have a race talk. I was like, what do you think our son is? And he's like, he's Mexican. I'm like, boy, he's Black. He doesn't understand what it means to be Black in America. And so that was one of the that really inspired the Melanin Intro to Spanish chapter because I was like, well, I remember like crying about George Floyd and my husband asked, ¿Por qué estás llorando? And I remember wanting to like throw something at him, like, how dare you ask me why I'm crying? But then I realized I had to be patient. I had to explain to him. I had to explain to him stuff like segregation. He didn't know what that was. Slavery. You know, he didn't know what that was. I was like, well, you know, he knew what it was, but he didn't know
the depth slavery. Of it, how deep it went. Yeah.
Right. I was here. And, you know, it's out of patience and it's out of love that I explained that to him. But I think this is something that a lot of language learners come across because we love doing language exchanges and meeting new people. But there are some people that aren't familiar with it. They just know that, oh, like, you know, you get discriminated against for the color of your skin. Like, it goes deeper than that. Girl, it's about class. It's about your experience. You know, it's about so much more. And so, I mean, you know, talking about Black hair is great. I love it. I love writing about that. But when I contacted my Japanese editor, and we did the section on, you know, Black Lives Matter, how do we talk about that in Japanese? We had a really deep discussion about what racism really is, like literally what it means in Japanese, because the translation for it is jinshu, which is like human type, human type sabetsu. Sabetsu is difference, and like it's literally difference twice. It's like gap and difference, the Chinese characters for it. Japanese is Chinese characters. And then she said, I don't know if it's jinshu sabetsu or if it's jinshu shugi. So any word that ends in shugi is an ism, like capitalism, romanticism. So she had shared with me this document. Someone had made an argument that said, we're not translating the word racism properly in Japanese. It should be jinshu shugi, not jinshu sabetsu. And I was like, well, when we say racism in English, we're referring to racial discrimination. We're not referring to race as a social construct. And yeah, that was a really interesting conversation. And then she invoiced me for it. And I was like, you didn't tell me this was a paid conversation. I wasn't mad. I was like, hey, fine. Like, get paid to talk about racism. That's what we want too. Because it seemed like after the death of George Floyd, everybody was like, let's do a webinar. Come talk on my show. Like, this is my rate. They're like, oh, I just wanted to start a conversation. Well, we talking, ain't we? We talking, ain't we? Let's talk about rates too. It's just this idea that so many people expect things for free. They're like, well, you get publicity for like, I don't care about it. I can get that anyway. Like, you need to pay me. like I can't, what am I going to do with your likes, right? What am I going to do with your, I'm going to support you any way I can. Like, I can't eat that. Like, that is so stupid. That is just so, I cannot deal with that. And so, and that happened a lot when as soon as I bring up my rates, like all of a sudden, like they ghost the conversation. I'm like, get your ass on there. I don't want to talk to you no ways. Get out of here.
We gotta do like a part 2 to this because we're wrapping up. We gotta do a part 2 because you are hilarious. And it's just who you are naturally, isn't it? This is just how you are every day.
Yeah. I'm frustrated. I'm done. I was in the corporate world for a couple of years. I told you about my exit, right? They called me into the office and they said, you're dressed too short. And I said, well, my husband can bring me some leggings. So they're like, okay, yeah, make the phone call right here in the office. I'm like, yeah, I don't have to hear that. I'm like,
I'm not a child. I'm not a child. Don't play me.
I was like, and I'm about to call my husband. He only speaks Spanish, and I don't know if y'all know bad words in Spanish, but I'm about to use a lot of them. So, but then it just hit me. I said, you know what? I don't have to take this. And I looked at my supervisor and my director and the HR person, and I said, F you. And they were like, excuse me? I said, F you. Then I got up and F you and F you. You know what? F this dance. And I like walked out of the office.
It was like that sounded like a movie scene. That sounded like a movie scene.
Oh my God, girl! My heart was pounding so fast. My director was like, "Give me your badge." I'm like, "Take it!" Like, I'm done with this, and I just stormed out. They're like, "We're calling security. Call them in."
Hey, see, that's dramatic. What you calling them for if I'm walking out? Now don't be dramatic. There's no reason to call them if I'm leaving. But I found that to be very, very common with that particular population. They like to report us to people, even if it's not necessary.
What's up with
I'm gonna tell so and so. Okay, what? You know?
I ain't scared. Like, you know, I'm from the hood, right? Y'all just some glorified bitches at this point.
But look, okay, hold on, because like I said, we gotta wrap up. So Melanin Intro, I got that right. Melanin
Yeah.
Total Languages. It discusses Spanish and Japanese for melanated folks.
Right.
Okay.
Well, there's also general language learning. There's
Okay.
general language learning tips too, like balancing being a polyglot, learning multiple languages.
And a person can order that from your website, Amazon. Where do they need to go?
Right to my website, baby. I use WordPress. I got WooCommerce. But I do want to note that the last chapter, one of the last chapters, is about, so if you're already fluent in a language, or like you've already gotten some translation projects or you help people, and you're just wondering how you can go from amateur to professional, that means from loving it to getting paid to do what you love. I also offer some help with that, some code email templates, some way to set up your own portfolio, start your own language business, because we need more of that. Like, I love
Amen.
coming across your website. I was like, oh, Sam, get it, working with clients, got all that. Like, that's wonderful. And I think freelancing is a life skill, whether you're freelancing, starting your own business, knowing what an invoice is, knowing how to bookkeep, knowing, how to manage clients, that saves your life. That's how you, that's sustenance. And it's just like, it's not enough to learn a language. You have to learn the language of business too. Because you see
Amen.
some of these businesses, the CEOs, they can't speak no other language, girl. They still struggling with hola, but they got that office, right? They got people working for them because they know how to speak the language of business too. And that was something that just always frustrated me. It was like, I'm here writing blog articles for you. You over here ask me, is that how you say it? Am I saying it right? You're supposed to be my client. You're supposed to be the boss, and you don't even know. So it's just like, how do we close that gap, right? We have to learn how to do business, right? How to make money for ourselves. Like, what is
And
Mark?
I'm good. Oh, excuse me, interrupt you. And you mentioned, I like your wording of it's a sec. That's a whole nother language too. It's not just
It
her to
is.
know the
It is.
language of
Because you
culture,
got
the
people
language of
that,
business.
you got talented translators out there, talented writers, they ain't making no money. They ain't making no money because you got, right at the end of the day, when you're done talking about, writing is wonderful and speaking language is wonderful, you have to say, let's talk about my rates. Let's talk about payment terms. Let's talk about a contract. Let's talk about how we're going to do this. That's so important. And yeah, it takes some trial and error, and you're going to make some mistakes, but it's really important for you to understand your value. And that's why I look back and I think about how easy it, well, not necessarily easy, but how grateful I was to walk away from that 9 to 5 that I had. And I remember telling myself, you're going to find something better. It's going to be tough, but you'll find something. And now I work from home. I get translation projects here and there. I do what I want. I love it. I do what I want.
That's beautiful.
And I hire my own translators, my own editors. Like, I love that kind of freedom. And I just wish someone would have told me a long time ago. Otherwise, I would not have been sitting up there with them white people. They come every morning. How you doing there? What you up to? Like, no, my cubicle. I don't want to talk to you. How you think I'm doing? I'm stuck in this cubicle all day doing work I don't want to do. Get away from me. I want to be at home with my baby. I don't want to be looking at you. We went up to the cabin.
You know what? I'm going to say this. It sounds like that you were not at the company functions after work. You sound like the type of person that's like,
I'm
going to hang out with y'all.
They were sending us mail. Come to our picker. I ain't going. I'm going home. I'm going home to be around people who look like me. Okay.
I have not laughed so much on this web series. Oh my gosh. Let me hurry up and get off of here because I gotta go teach a client.
That's right. You got stuff to do. Yeah, I gotta go bake a cake today. It's my husband's birthday tomorrow. I'm making me some good leche.
Yes, ma'am. Let me quit. So, okay. Tell us about More Than Meet the Mommy, and we're done. So we talked about the book. Now let's talk about More Than Meet the Mommy, what that is.
More Than the Mommy. Yes, so More Than the Mommy is evolving. It's evolving. Like I said, when that woman told me, how do we get white people to give a damn about brown and black kids learning languages? It's like when we have something for us, by us and for us, I feel like that's when we really create that safe space. And that's how I envision More Than the Mommy to be. I like that I was able to hire a Black editor and hire BIPOC creatives to work with me. And I want to continue to do that. I want to continue to let More Than the Mommy be this community of not just moms, but like Black parents and Black language learners, language lovers that can just really be open about their goals and what they want to, and just open about talking about their racial identity, right? Talking about their hair, talking about, what their hopes and fears are and things like that. And in a place with like no judgment and just total openness. Because I remember being in the classroom and just want to be like, can we just talk about how I'm the only Black girl here? Like, can we just talk about this right quick? Or can we just talk about how, like, all the pictures in his textbook, all the stock photos is white people.
Yeah,
Like,
no, stop. I said I was gonna wrap up, but that just hit too close to home. I am currently working on my master's in Spanish, and I don't even think I need it because I have life experience. But society, I want to do some
Yep.
stuff on the side. I want to do stuff on the side. I get tired of them asking about my qualifications. I'm me. That's what I want to put on the application. I'm me. But
Yes.
but but I said okay, and I already did half of the program, so I'm gonna keep going. This has been a hard semester because I like just about all my other classes, but this class is deal with the masterpieces. And I went on and asked my professor this week, why are these considered masterpieces? All of these are about is the colonization of Mexico. And I'm tired of reading it. I'm tired of hearing it. Matter of fact, I feel like the fact that these are deemed masterpieces, that means somebody out there glorifies this period and they happy to keep on how they I'm sick. You know, I didn't say all of that. But she gave her little answer the best she could, and I appreciate her. But I'm sick of this. I'm tired of reading. If you can glorify it, y'all can glorify it. I'm trying to move on. This sitting too close to home for me, and I'm sick. But anyway.
Right. Well, I had one client, and I said, send me your style guide so I know, like, what to write about and make sure it's along your brand guidelines and stuff. And I remember it said in their style guide, don't talk about race, don't get political. I'm like, you know what? That benefits you. But look what it does to us, right? We go this, through an education system, and we go to these language learning classes where we're afraid to talk about race. We're afraid to be like, well, how do you say black in this language? Or like, how do you refer to like certain ethnic groups in this language? And we end up tiptoeing everywhere because we don't talk about it. We call it taboo. We make it seem like, they make it seem like language learning is just this place where it's like post-racial, like everybody's valued for who they are. Please. I was born at night, not last night. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's just like, I will never forget when I studied abroad in Japan and they said, do a quick presentation about your country. Like, Errol, you're from the US. Do a presentation on the US. And I was like, oh, Lord, where do I start? I was like, should I start from the slavery? Should I start from stealing land from Native Americans, the genocide? I like, take your pick. And someone asked me, white boy from Australia, is it like those American Pie movies? And I'm like, last time I checked, ain't no black people in American Pie movies. But at least none of the main characters is black. And I remember feeling so tongue-tied. I don't even think I did the presentation. I think I just skipped class that day. And I remember thinking, I don't know how to talk about race in Japanese. I've been studying the language forever, but I can't even talk about the injustices that black people have been through in Japanese. Where do I go from here? And so, that led to me really just feeling like I'm done with Japanese. I fell in love with Spanish, but, with my son getting older and me wanting to share learning Japanese with him, I realized I want to be able to have a handbook. I want to be able to have something I can refer to, a textbook that's being honest and saying, hey, you need to be able to talk about race. I'm like, hey, I like this textbook. And I was like, where does this textbook exist? And I didn't see it. So I was like, all right, I'll create my own damn textbook about it then. And so that's what Melanin Languages is. and a need. But it was like, I remember someone else told me too, like, don't wait. Well, I remember because there was a conference called the Language Learning Conference, and I went to it. It was online, and it was just white people there. There was an Asian man there, but like, what are black people at? And I remember I asked him, I said, what do you think online learning, how do you think that's going to change the face of language learning for non-native speakers? I wanted to say black people, but I was like, I'm just going to say non-native speakers. And they were like, oh yeah, no, heritage speakers are definitely going to, no, I'm not talking about heritage speakers. I'm talking about non-native speakers. I'm talking about, you look at me and I tell you I'm saying Japanese, like, but you're not Japanese. I know I'm not Japanese. I've looked in the mirror before, but I know I want to learn this language. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, how can we openly talk about the fact that black people should be learning languages? Or you got black people there that do speak more than one language, but it's not as important as that thin white chick with the big boobs that speak Russian and German. It's just like, come on now. It's like the first thing you look at when you type in polyglot or bilingual on Google. I don't see black people pop up, and that makes me mad. That makes me mad because I know we out here. But
we're gonna do a part 2. We got to do a part 2. I asked you 3 of the set questions. Okay. Okay, come on. Thank you for the 3 viewers still watching. I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but Errol gave her introduction in Español. So as always, we end our times with our guests in English and them saying the same thing. So you can check to see if you comprehended something in Spanish. So here we go, Errol. We know, well, not really. We don't really know where you're from. So go ahead. Where are you from?
I'm from Houston, Texas. Tejas, baby, friendship. That's what it's supposed to mean, I think. And I moved to Minnesota for college. I met my husband up here who didn't speak English initially, and we mostly spoke in Spanish. I also have a twin sister. She also speaks Spanish. And my husband and I, were currently raising our son trilingual. He will be speaking English, Japanese, and Spanish. And I absolutely love speaking Japanese to my little Afro-Mexicano baby because he don't talk back. He just be like, he's just soaking it in. So I added some extra stuff. But yeah, that was my intro.
In that though, you also end up telling us your pastimes. I feel like you say you like to
cook.
Oh
yeah, that's right. Girl, thank you. Keep me in check. I love to sing. I love writing. I love writing fan fiction. I don't know if anyone likes that stuff, but I love fan fiction. And I also love baking. I love baking tres leches. I love baking sweet. I was gonna say sweet bread. I was not this big when I met my husband.
Errol, you are not big. I mean, I'm not there with you in real life, but on the camera, you're not big. Stop. Okay, come on.
Plump. I got plumper. Girl, I was a stick when I left Japan. I fattened up.
But but being abroad will do that to you. Because when I lived in Spain, I came back. I went to church and the pastor got on the mic and said, "Well, I need to do whatever Sister Mo doing because she's skinty." And
well, in Japan, all the food is tiny. The food tiny, so I think you just naturally eat less, and it's small. You got to squeeze in between people on the train, so you got to run after the train. So I was active, but I got in.
And then you don't have a vehicle, so you walking more. And then a lot of other country stuff is just more natural. They don't allow the crap that the U.S. allows in our food.
That's
Not
true.
Everybody else allow that. That's so you just eating a little more natural. So okay, hold on now.
You want to travel again.
Let me keep going. Your job or jobs? What do you do?
Right. So I said that my main job was doing marketing for nonprofits. So what's that word? So it's ánimo sin lucro? No, it's lucro sin ánimo. How is it?
Compañía
sin lucro.
Oh, goodness.
No,
ánimo sin lucro.
Sin ánimo de lucro. Gosh. Which is like, that means like motivation for money, right?
It sounds like because fines, it's like an ends, lucrative. That's what I think about. Without the ends of getting money, who knows?
But it is not true. Nonprofits are all about money. That's what I learned doing marketing. It's nearly every email we send out, make sure you become a member. Make sure you renew your membership dues. I'm like, I get it. That's how they stay afloat. But I be like, man, they're all about money.
It's a game.
And then I also do blogging and translation, editing and proofreading, and copywriting.
Okay, it sounds good. You already talked about your husband and your son. Tell us about any other family members. You already mentioned. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet. Yeah, any other family members you want to mention?
My mom. She's pretty great. She's awesome. She never told me that I couldn't do Japanese. She was like, I can't afford to send you there, but I'm gonna support you any way I can. And she took me to all my Japanese language competitions, and she never told me no. So I remember.
This is why we got to do a part 2. Like, you went to competitions. Don't respond because we're gonna be here 5 minutes. Don't say nothing. But this is why we got to do a part 2. Let me keep going. Your favorite Spanish song or singer? Well, I really want both. Your favorite song in Spanish and the favorite singer.
So my favorite singer is Frankie J. Have you heard Frankie J? He did that song Obsession. And you know what? I listened to that song before I even understood the grammar of Spanish, because he was like, "No es amor, es una obsesión." I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it." So you crushing real hard, but you're not in love with this person. You tripping. But my favorite song is Que Lloro. I think it's like How I Cry by a band called Sin Bandera, which I think means without a flag. Also, check out my flag. Go ahead. Also, it's October, so Dia de los Muertos is coming up. I know y'all can't see the Calaveras, but they're there. This is my Day of the Dead wreath. So
That's
yeah.
nice. That's nice.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Well, that is it. That is
Shut
it.
up.
So viewers, I hope that you got some stuff out of that you got you comprehended some things from her intro in Spanish and you connected some dots. I thank you all for hanging in here with me. Those who didn't hang in, I thank you for coming and viewing. This has been nice. Hey, and Errol, is your sister on the same level you are? You think she'd mind doing an interview?
Oh, even better. But she's pregnant right now. She's got to chill. So
That's right.
after she had a baby,
I'll wait.
We should do a family Tasha teaches Spanish family edition. That'd be nice.
I have that because I have 2 cousins that have learned to a degree. So I'm gonna bring them on soon. So I'm bringing my cousins on.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm sorry, one cousin and a niece. But look, I gotta go. I'm out of here. Hasta luego. Thank you, Errol. Bless you. This has been really fun. Thank you.
Gracias, fue muy divertido. Oh my God.
Bye.
Adiós.